भवज्ञादिवृन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप तदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती निति नामिने। श्रीवार्षभानवी देवी दयिताय कृपाब्धये कृष्णसम्बन्धविज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः। माधुर्योज्ज्वल प्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौरा करुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते। नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगाविरुद्धाप सिद्धान्तद्वान्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बारसाम्भोजे पादाम्बुजायते नमः। नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगावरायते गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जनप्रियः वैष्णवः सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषै नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। जयतां सुरतोर्भङ्गुर् मामन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वापदाम्बोजौ राधा मदनमोहनो दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमादः दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमादः श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद्राधा शीलगोविन्ददेवो राधा दृष्ट्वालिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि। श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भी त्वं श्रीवटतटस्थितः सर्षं वेणोस्वनेर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथः श्रेयस्तु नः। सप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरे हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you to the Bhakti śāstrī courses, what we are doing now. We have till now, which verse were we in the 14th chapter?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, for which verse were we in any area?
Prabhuji, we need to start from 14.19, 14.19.
14.19, yes. 14.19. Chapter 14. Yes. Okay. 19th verse. Yeah. नान्यः गुणेभ्यः कर्तारं यथा दृष्टा न पश्यति गुणेभ्यः परं वेत्ति मद्भावं सदिगच्छति. So now Krishna, he starts speaking about the practical understanding of the modes of nature. Nanyah gunebhyah kartaram yata drishta anupashyati. Means one who sees that nothing else other than the modes of nature is working. Nanyah gunebhyah kartaram. And gunebhyah param vetti, to see that the soul is beyond the gunas. The super soul is beyond the gunas. And in this world, all the interactions are happening according to the modes of nature. So the point comes to about, for example, I am thirsty. I am drinking water. Now, who is drinking water? Who is thirsty? Somebody may say, oh, the tongue is thirsty, the stomach is thirsty, the mind is thirsty. Who is drinking water? The tongue is drinking water, the mouth is drinking water, the stomach is drinking water. But actually, we should know these are modes. The functioning of the modes. Like Krishna in the 3rd chapter also, he talks about this thing. One thinks ahankarunatma karta dimanyate prakriti kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashaha ahankarunatma karta mitvanyate. So, understanding the soul to be transcendental the modes of nature, and all the actions which are done by the gunas, not by the jiva. The living entity is not the doer. Who is the doer? The modes of nature of the doer. One who understands this thing, then he madbhavam sadhigacchati, attains the form of Krishna, or madbhava. Bhava here refers to devotion to Krishna, and also refers to the nature of Krishna, spiritual form. Now Krishna till now spoke about the classification of the modes of nature. Now he speaks about how the living entity can attain liberation by understanding its transcendence to the modes of nature in 2 verses.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, please, I beg forgiveness. Can you please tell that who is thirsty? Shall we say modes are thirsty? So, what shall I say? That I am under the three modes. I am under the three modes of material nature. So, how to answer this question of yours? Who is thirsty?
Yeah. Yeah. Is the soul thirsty?
No. No.
Then who is thirsty?
Body. Body works under, souls works under the three modes of material nature. But
Soul is working in the modes of nature. Okay.
no, body.
Okay, body is working in the modes of nature. Yes. True. So do you think the soul is thirsty? No, soul is not thirsty.
Soul is not. Soul is transcendental.
Soul is transcendental. So when you understand the soul is transcendental, like sometimes you may say, I'm hurt. He spoke so much to me. I'm hurt. Who is hurt?
Pain is felt by soul, Prabhuji.
The pain is felt by the soul.
Yes, pain is felt by me. I am soul. Pain is felt by me, right? That's why the body is given to me to suffer happiness, distress, everything. But I suffer.
No. I'm just asking a simple question. Who feels the pain? The soul feels the pain or what?
I beg forgiveness, but I feel pain. I don't think that mind feel pain.
Who feels the pain?
Consciousness.
Consciousness. Which consciousness? I have explained to you this thing.
So, Prabhuji, I am consciousness. The consciousness
As
in the
your
body because of
consciousness.
me. Because I am in the body. I'm in this body.
13th chapter, conditioned consciousness.
Oh yes, yes.
The conditioned consciousness, which all these sukham, ichcha, dvesha, sukham, dukkham, sangada, chetana, driti. Okay, it is nothing to do with the soul. Like suffering of the soul is different from the thirst, hunger, etc., etc. The hunger, thirst, and all these things are not the suffering of the soul. Like a fish is out of water. The suffering of the fish, is it because of it is not having an air-conditioned room? The suffering of the fish, is it because it doesn't have nice food to eat? The suffering of the fish, which is out of water, its suffering is because it doesn't have a nice big TV to see. What is the suffering of the fish?
Because the fish is out of water. Because I am not in my eternal position
That is
of
my
the.
suffering. That is my suffering.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I lost all my property. That person scolded me. Oh, these are the causes of suffering or what? Soul has nothing to do with all these things. That means as long as we are disturbed by the so-called sufferings of this world, till then we are to understand that we are not realized who am I. As long as affected by the sufferings and the happiness of this world, till then you should know there is no self-realization. Right? Got it?
Thank you so much.
So the living entity, which is full of knowledge and bliss, has nothing to do with the sorrow of this world. And when he sees that this body, which is made up of gunas, that is the thing which is actually experiencing all these things. When he fixed up in Mahatma, fixed up in the soul which is transcendental to modes of gunebhya param vetti. Now here gunebhya param, transcendental to the modes of nature. The soul is also transcendental to the modes of nature. And the soul is also transcendental to the modes of nature. Both are transcendental to the modes of nature. So to know the soul means to know the soul's relationship with super soul. So then Madbhavam attains bhakti. Madbhava, bhava towards Krishna. Okay. So please read the purport. Very important verse. Read the purport.
One can transcend all the activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly by learning from the proper souls. The real spiritual master is Krishna, and he is imparting this spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Krishna consciousness that one has to learn this science of activities in terms of modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. By the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can know of his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, how he is entrapped, and how he is under the spell of the material modes of nature. He is helpless, being in the grip of these modes, but when he can see his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body conducted by some particular modes of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position, and by such an understanding, he can become fixed in full Krishna consciousness. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the seventh chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the seventh chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. I think these are repeated in my book. I have the very old edition.
Hmm. Okay. Next verse. गुणानेतान्नतीत्यैत्रीन् देहि देव देह समुद्भवान् जन्मवृत्त्यजरा दुःखैर्विमुक्तोऽमृतमश्नुते. So, गुणानेतान् अतीत्यैतान् अतीत्यान् त्रीन् देहि देह samudbhavan. Now, when the embodied soul is able to transcend the modes of nature, gunanetan atitya trin, dehi deha samudbhavan, this dehi, the conditioned soul, deha samudbhavan, then he has not to experience anymore janma mrityu jara dukkha vimukto amritam. So, janma mrityu jara dukkha, he has no janma mrityu jara. Now, what is the meaning of the word Deha Samudbhavan? He overcomes the modes of nature which gives rise to the body. The body is because of the modes of nature. As we have discussed in the 13th chapter, where Krishna says, Karanam Gunasangasya Sadasadyo Nijanmashu. So different births we get because of Karanam Gunasangasya, because of modes of nature. Depending on the modes of nature, we get a body. That is why Deha Samudbhavan. And for such a person who is beyond samsara, he has nothing to do with the Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi of this world. That means Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, he attains the stage of Brahman. In pure soul, he doesn't have any lamentation of birth, death, old age, and disease. Hmm. Hmm. And he is equal to everyone. At the same time, he attains Prema Bhakti. So, in the previous verse, we talked about Madbhavam Sadhigacchati. After Bhava, then you get Prema. So, this is what is the stage of a devotee who transcends the modes of nature. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. So, please read the purport.
One can stay in the transcendental position, even in this body. In full Krishna consciousness is explained in this verse. The Sanskrit word Dehi means embodied, also one in within this material body. By his advancement in spiritual knowledge, he can be free from influence of the mode of nature. He can enjoy the happiness of spiritual life even in this body, because after leaving this body, he is certainly going to the spiritual sky. But even in this body, he can enjoy spiritual happiness. In other words, devotional service in Krishna consciousness is a sign of liberation from this material indulgence. And these will be explained in 18th chapter. When one is freed from the influence of the mode of material nature, he enter in devotional services.
Then, once Krishna spoke these two verses, Arjuna asked question. What are questions asked by Arjuna? Kairlingai strin guna netan atito bhavati prabho kimachara kadam chetam strin gunan nativartate. So, Arjuna's question are like this. I want to know the symptoms. A person who has transcended the modes of nature. Kairlingai strin guna netan atito prabho. Now, lingai means symptoms. So I want to know the symptom of a person who has transcended the modes of nature. Number one. Kim acharaha? What are the actions? What is his conduct? What is the behavior? And katam chetam strin gunan ativartate. How does he transcend the three modes of nature? Three questions were asked. Symptoms of a person, conduct of a person, how does he surpass the modes of nature? Symptoms of a person who has transcended the modes, गुणातीत जो हो गया है, उसका लक्षण, उसका व्यवहार, आचार यानी व्यवहार. तीसरा, वो कैसे तीनों गुणों को पार किया है, तीनों गुणातीत कैसे हुआ, विधि क्या है. Three questions were asked by Arjuna. If you see the second chapter also, Arjuna had asked Krishna about the Sthita Prajna. He asked 4 questions about Sthita Prajna, if you remember. What are the 4 questions asked by Arjuna? Sthita Prajnascha ka bhasha, samadhistasya keshava, Sthitade kim prabhasheta, kimasita vrajeta kim. Kimasita, how does he sit? How does he walk? Prabhasheta, how does he speak? And bhasha, what is the bhasha? What is the language? In this way, 4 questions were asked. Similarly, here Arjuna is also asking these questions. Number 1, that is, Kairlinga is 3 Gunatita Natya Prabhu. One who has transcended the modes of nature. Kairlinga is 3 Kairlingaha. What is the symptom? Imacharaha. Achara means what is this behavior? And how does he? Katam. Katam means how. How is it that he has transcended the modes of nature? So these are the 3 questions asked by Arjuna. Hmm. Read the purport.
In this verse, Arjuna's questions are very appropriate. He wants to know the symptoms of a person who has already transcended the material modes. He first inquires of the symptoms of such a transcendental person. How can one understand that he has already transcended the influence of the modes of material nature? The second question asks how he lives and what his activities are. Are they regulated or non regulated? Then Arjuna inquires of the means by which he can attain the transcendental nature. That is very important. Unless one knows the direct means by which one can be situated always transcendently, there is no possibility of showing the symptoms. So, all these questions put by Arjuna are very important, and the Lord answers them.
So now Krishna starts answering the questions, brother. So 3 verses are together. Shri Bhagavan Prakashamscha pravrittimcha mohameva cha pandava sad nadveshti sampravruttani na nivruttani kankshati udasino gunairyo na vichalyate gunavartanta iti evam yo vadishthati ningate tadukka sukha swastha समालोष्ट्राश्मकाञ्चनः तुल्यप्रिया प्रियोदीरस्तुल्यनिन्दात्मसंस्तुतिः मानापमानयो तुल्यो मैत्री प्रकाश प्रक्षयोः सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी गुणातीतः स उच्यते. So when Arjuna asks these 3 questions, now, in the first, Krishna indicates that the transcendent person has no envy. So, symptoms of a person is transcendent modes are not described. So, please read the purport because it is self-explanatory, and also you have done this subject many times in the previous chapters. So, I'm just asking you to read, and at the end, I'll try to give some comments for you.
Hi
Read the
Krishna,
purport.
Pranam.
Read.
The full purport?
Full purport.
Okay. Arjuna submitted these 3 different questions and the Lord answers them one after another. In these verses, Krishna first indicates that a person transcendently situated has no envy and does not hanker for anything. When a living entity stays in the material world, embodied by the material body, it is to be understood that he is under the control of one of the 3 modes of material nature. When he is actually out of the body, then he is out of the clutches of the material modes of nature. But as long as he is not out of the material body, he should be neutral. He should engage himself in devotional service of the Lord so that his identity with the material body will automatically be forgotten. When one is conscious of the material body, he acts only for the sense gratification. But when he transfers the consciousness to Krishna, sense gratification automatically stops. One does not need this material body, and he does not need to accept the dictations of the material body. The qualities of the material modes in the body will act. But as a spirit soul, the self is aloof from such activities. How does he become aloof? He does not desire to enjoy the body, nor does he desire to get out of it. Thus, transcendently situated, the devotee becomes automatically free. He did not try to become free from the influence of the modes of material nature. The next question concerns the dealings of a transcendentally situated person. The materially situated person is affected by so-called honor and dishonor offered to the body. But the transcendently situated person is not affected by such false honor and dishonor. He performs his duty in Krishna consciousness and does not mind whether a man honors or dishonors him. He accepts things that are favorable for his duty in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, he has no necessity of anything material, either a stone or gold. He takes everything as his dear friend. He takes everyone as his dear friend who helps him in the execution of Krishna consciousness, and he does not hate his so-called enemy. He is equally disposed and sees everything on an equal level because he knows perfectly well that he has nothing to do with the material existence. Social and political issues do not affect him because he knows the situation of temporary upheavals and disturbances. He does not attempt anything for his own sake. He can attempt anything for Krishna, but for his personal self, he does not attempt anything. By such behavior, one becomes actually transcendentally situated.
So it is quite similar to what Arjuna had asked in the second chapter. He asked the questions, 4 questions regarding a person's transcendental. Now, how many of you remember the 4 questions asked by Arjuna to Krishna in the second chapter? In the fifth, yes.
Arjuna asks, how does the transcendently asthit pragya speaks, walks, sits, and kim prabhasheta, he speaks, kim vraje.
What are his symptoms?
I'm
Very
forgetting
good.
the quote.
Can anybody explain to me what is the meaning of these 4? What do you mean by these 4 questions?
From one of the meaning is that how he remain undisturbed and how he resists temptations toward sense gratification and how he remains fixed in Krishna consciousness.
Can you explain each one? Chitta pragyascha ka bhasha. What is the meaning of bhasha there?
How we talk.
Kim
How
prabhasha means how we talk. What is the
How
meaning
it-
of chitta pragyascha ka bhasha? Bhasha?
Bhasha means how he remains steady in both happiness and distress.
No, it's there by what gunas we can identify that person.
No. What is the meaning of bhasha?
Bhasha means that what he talks like. Does he talk about Krishna or he talks materially? What is the matter? What is the matter actually?
Okay, listen carefully. Bhasha means what is the general behavior of a devotee, number 1. Kim prabhasheta, how does he speak means how does he react to situations of happiness towards happiness and distress. Number 4. Kim asita means how does he control his senses, disengage his senses. Kim prabhasheta, kim asita, vrajeta kim means how does he walk. How does he walk means how does he engage his senses. So what is the meaning of ka bhasha? Bhasha means what? The general behavior. The general behavior of a devotee is described in the second chapter. 55, 54 is the verse which Arjuna asked question. 55. Tajahati kaman sarvan partmanogatan atmanyevatmanan tushta sthita pragyasrochate. So he gives up all material desires because they're all mental. Anybody who has got mental desires, they are mental case. They're mad people. Number 2, how does he react to situations? That is called Kim Prabhashet. How does he talk? How does he react? How does he react to situations? The 2 situations, Sukha and Dukkha. Dukkeshu anudvigdamanaha, Sukeshu vigataspriha. When Dukkha comes, he is not disturbed. When Sukha comes, he is not really elated. Vidaraga bhayakroda siddharmuniruchate. Siddhadhi muniruchate. Third question.
So Bhasha
can be analogous to dualities. Like, how does he respond to dualities?
No, bhasha means language. Here the Sthitavagdasya ka bhasha means what is the general behavior of a devotee. Language is used to convey general things, isn't it?
Like, it's analogous. I'm not saying it's meaning. Like, it's analog.
No.
How does he respond to
Kim prabhasheta. The word kim prabhasheta. How does he speak? That is analogous. That is equal to, or it means how does he react to situations. It is not Sitava ka bhasha. You are talking about kim prabhasheta. Kim prabhasheta means how does he speak? How does he react to situations, like speech? Somebody shouts at you, you also shout at them. Or you take it as a mode of passion dancing in his heart. You don't react. So how do you react to situations of happiness and distress? That is called kim prabhasheta. That is analogous to kim prabhasheta. Ka bhasha is how does a devotee behave in general, the formula on which a devotee conducts his life. Got it?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Kimasita means how does he sit? Like you ask somebody, क्या कर रहा है वो? बैठा हुआ है. What do you mean by that? He is not doing anything. Not doing anything is compared to sitting. That means how does he disengage his senses, control his senses, withdraw his senses from the sense objects. And Rajatakrim, how does he walk? Means how does he engage his senses? Okay. So now we discussed about 22, 23, 24, 25, 4 verses. The first verse talks about, that means the 22nd verse talks about the symptoms. 3 verses talk about 23, 24, 25. These 3 verses talk about the external behavior. Like for example, if you take 24th verse, Samadukka Sukha Sukho Swasto Sama Lochtrashta Kanchanaha. This is Loshtra Ashpa Kanchana. Loshtra means stone. Ashpa means stone. Lostra means iron. And he sees earth, stone, and gold as same because all are nothing but a transformation of material modes. So the external behavior of a person who is self-realized is discussed in these 3 verses, 23, 24, 25. You can take another, say for example, you take 25th verse. In that you have Manapamanayo Tulyaha. He is undisturbed in both circumstances of mana and apamana. Manapamanayo. Somebody insults him and somebody praises him. In these 2 conditions, he is Tulyaha. Because he knows one who has criticized him may praise tomorrow. One who is now praising him tomorrow may criticize. So 3 verses talk about the external behavior of a person who is self-realized. Now, Arjuna asked the 3rd question. See, first question is answered in 22nd verse. 23, 24, 25 answer the 2nd question of Arjuna, external behavior. Now, the 3rd question asked by Arjuna was, how does he transcend the modes of nature? How to get out of the modes of nature, isn't it? How do you transcend the modes of nature? That is described in the 26th verse. Mam chevya vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan dittitan sagunan samatittitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Mam cha yo vibicharena bhakti yogena. One who serves me bhakti yogera sevate. With bhakti, with pure devotional service, which that bhakti which is avyabhicharini bhakti, mam cha vyabhicharena bhakti yogera sevate. Sagunan, sa, that person, gunanatitetan, he transcended the modes of nature. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate, and attains Brahma bhuta, and he become Brahma bhuta prasannatma, Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Hmm. So, it is exclusive. Exclusively. Mam cha means exclusively. Hmm. One who has theoretically attained, or 19th verse talk, one who knows that I am not this body. He has theoretical understanding that I am beyond the modes of nature. But ultimately, one has to do seva to attain complete perfection. I am not touched by the gunas of Maya. Why? Because Krishna is not touched by Maya, he is the controller of Maya. He is completely full of bliss. He is completely full of all auspicious qualities. He who takes shelter of Krishna in Bhakti Yoga, Kalpate, he attains his nature called Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. That is, he attains the nature of the soul. That is, having all the transcendental qualities. Can you read the purport? So I'll explain certain more points.
This verse is a reply to Arjuna's third question. What is the meaning of attaining the transcendental position? As explained before, the material world is acting under the spell of modes of material nature. One should not be disturbed by the activities of the modes of nature. Instead of putting his consciousness into such activities, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. Krishna activities are known as Bhakti Yoga, always acting for Krishna. This includes not only Krishna, but his different plenary expansions, such as Rama and Narayana. He has innumerable expansions. One who is engaged in the service of any of the forms of Krishna or of his plenary expansions is considered to be transcendentally situated. One should also note that all the forms of Krishna are fully transcendental, blissful, full of knowledge, and eternal. Such personalities of Godhead are omnipotent and omniscient, and they possess all transcendental qualities. So, if one engages himself in the service of Krishna or his plenary expansions with unfailing determination, although these modes of material nature are very difficult to overcome, one can overcome them easily. This has already been explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto Krishna at once surmounts the influence of the modes of material nature. To be in Krishna consciousness or in devotional service means to acquire equality with Krishna. The Lord says that his nature is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge, and the living entities are part and parcel of Supreme, as gold particles are part of a gold mine. Thus, living entity in his spiritual position is as good as gold, as good as Krishna in quality. The difference of individuality continues. Otherwise, there would be no question of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means that the Lord is there, the devotee is there, and the activity of exchange of love between the Lord and the devotee is there. Therefore, the individuality of two persons is present in Supreme Personality of Godhead and the individual person. Otherwise, there would be no meaning to Bhakti Yoga. If one is not situated in the same transcendental position with the Lord, one cannot serve the Supreme Lord. To be a personal assistant to a king, one must acquire the qualifications. Thus, the qualification is to become Brahman, or freed from all material contamination. It is said in the Vedic literature, Brahmaeva san Brahma Piyati. One can attain the Supreme Brahman by becoming Brahman. This means that one must qualitatively become one with Brahman. By attainment of Brahman, one does not lose his eternal Brahman identity as an individual soul.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, it is saying, I have two questions. It is saying again and again that already in chapter 7 we already have learned and read and studied that if one surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, then he can transcend the modes of material nature. So suppose if I say that we hear the prayer also, that we go to in front of the deities and we say, "Oh Krishna, oh Ram, I surrender unto you." From this very moment, so Krishna accepts. So how to understand that I would be able to transcend? And related to this, I'm having the question like, if one crosses the anartha nivriti stage, so does it mean like, becoming like this line, that the qualification to become Brahman or freed from all material contamination. So one just crosses a anartha nivriti, then the path is like, if of course that after is nishtha. So does it mean like this? Can we qualify this, that qualification to become Brahman? So that is coming in my mind, Prabhuji.
Yes. Brahman, yes, definitely. What is the meaning of Brahman? Brahman means spiritual nature, where there is no contamination modes of nature. That is called Brahman. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So here the word Brahman, though refers to the soul, that doesn't mean this Brahman becomes super soul. He becomes by nature the super soul. He becomes spiritual in nature, not that he becomes God. So one who surrenders to Krishna, he attains the nature of Krishna. That is what 7th chapter says. Now tell me in which verse in the 7th chapter this point is discussed. Anybody knows the verse? 7th chapter. Which verse Prabhupada is talking about? Let's have a quiz.
Prabhuji, 7.13.
Very good. 7.13. What does Krishna say in 7.13?
त्रिभिर् गुणामयैर् भावैर् इतः सर्वम् इदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति माम् इबध्यः परम् अव्ययम्. Deluded by the three modes,
14.
goodness.
Read 14.
14. देवी ऐ गुणमयि देवी हयेष गुणमयि मम माया दुरुत्या माम एव ये प्रबंधन्ते माया एताम तरन्ति ते. This divine energy of
Mayametam tarantite. Mameva ye prapadyante. One who surrenders unto me, one who surrenders unto Krishna, then Mayametam tarantite. The word surrender has been used there. Got it?
Yes. Yes,
okay. Whenever Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport about some word from chapter, it is said so, then you should remember that that verse. Then it will be nice. Okay?
Hey, Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I have a question from the last week's class. Can
Yes.
I ask now or later? I was just rehearing again that class and making notes. You mentioned that the 64 qualities that Krishna learned in the Gurukul are avidya. And after that, you mentioned that everything, whatever we know, yeah. So after that, you mentioned that whatever vidya we are acquiring, all are avidya unless they are utilized in the service of Krishna. Whatever,
Yes.
be it garden making, cooking, or whatever. So my
Yes.
question is that I understood your point that whatever we are doing, all are in the modes of three modes, and they are contaminated unless they are used in Krishna's service. Okay, fine. So why I did not understand the point that when Krishna acquired all those qualities, then how can we say that these are avidya?
When Krishna acquired all these qualities, he doesn't have to acquire. All the avidya and vidya, everything comes from Krishna only, isn't it? Like, for example, where does matter come from? Tell me. Where is material world coming from?
Sorry, Prabhuji, I couldn't hear you.
Where is this material world coming from?
It's coming from Krishna only.
Why don't you stay in the material world? Because it's coming from Krishna only, na?
Yeah.
Why don't you just stay here? Because it's coming from Krishna. Just because something is coming from Krishna, because it is material, Krishna himself is said that the material world is not a fit place for you to stay. Get out of it. The same way, avidya is also coming from Krishna. Vidyam cha
Yes.
vidyam cha yastadvedo bhyam saha avidya mrityum tirtva vidya amritam ashrate. You learned Ishopanishad, isn't it? What is mentioned there in Ishopanishad? This is what is mentioned. Both vidya and avidya are coming from Krishna. Vidyam cha yastadvedo bhyam saha. Should know both. And then give up avidya, because avidya mrityum tirtva vidya amritam ashrate. By vidya you get amrita. Just by modes of name, but just by 64 arts, you'll be staying in this world again and again. Though they are coming from Krishna. Okay?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay. So where are we? Next verse. Brahmanoi pratishthaham amritasya vyasya cha shāśvatasya cha dharmasya sukasya ekantikasya cha. So the last verse. Brahmanoi pratishthaham amritasya vyasya cha shāśvatasya cha dharmasya sukasya ekantikasya cha. We have been using this word Brahman, Brahman, Brahman many times. What is Brahman? He says, I am the shelter of Brahman. I am the ultimate shelter of Brahman. And what is the nature of that Brahman? He is Amritasya, is beyond the process of death. And Avyayasya, Avyaya, he is imperishable. And Sukasya Ekantikasya cha, I am the shelter for all its qualities. This is the nature of of Brahman. That is Amritasya, Avyayasya, Shāśvatasya dharmasya, Sukasya ekantikasya cha. Once you know that I am distinct from Jiva, and gunas is exclusive, is beyond the gunas. One who performs bhakti, he attains the swarupa, original nature of being servant of Krishna. That time, Jiva is sometimes referred to as Brahman. And also you have Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti is also based dependent on Krishna. The living entity is also Brahman, is also dependent on Krishna. So these words, the word Brahma, Brahman, can refer to either living entity or to the Brahman effulgence of the Lord. We know there are three features of the absolute truth: Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So the living entity is also Brahman. The effulgence of Krishna is also Brahman. Both are dependent on Krishna. Pratishtaham, I am the Pratishta, means I am the person who is the basis of all things. Pratishtha means on which everything resides. So the impersonal Brahman resides on me, and also the living entity also resides on me. Somebody may say, once the living entity is liberated, why it should take shelter of you? No. Even though the living entity is liberated, he is still the shelter. He takes shelter of me. I am the Pratishtha. The qualities like śāstrī, dharmasya, ekantikasya, sutasya. For all these things, I am the qualities. Especially sukasya, rasa. The living entity, he takes pleasure in transcendental pastimes, in association with me. So that rasa is a thing which is going to make the living entity completely liberated. So in spite of all his liberation, living entity is liberated, but still he is dependent on me for sukha. So in this way, this verse talks about both Brahman as well as the living entity. So please read the purport.
The constitutional of Brahman is immortality, imperishability, eternity, and happiness. Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. Paramatma, the super soul, is the middle, the second stage in the transcendental realization. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate realization of the absolute truth. Therefore, both Paramatma and the impersonal Brahman are within the Supreme Person. It is explained in the 7th chapter that material nature is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord impregnates the inferior material nature with fragments of the superior nature, and that is the spiritual touch in the material nature. When a living entity conditioned by this material nature begins the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, he elevates himself from the position of material existence and gradually rises up to the Brahman concept of the Supreme. This attainment of the Brahman conception of life is the first stage in self-realization. At this stage, the Brahman realized person is transcendental to the material position, but he is not actually perfect in Brahman realization. If he wants, he can continue to stay in the Brahman position and then gradually rise up to the Paramatma realization and then to the realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many examples of this Vedic literature. The 4 Kumaras were situated first in the impersonal Brahman conception of truth, but then they gradually rose to the platform of devotional service. One who cannot elevate himself beyond the impersonal conception of Brahman runs the risk of falling down. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that although a person may rise to the stage of impersonal Brahman without going further, with no information of the Supreme Person, his intelligence is not perfectly clear. Therefore, in spite of being raised to the Brahman platform, there is a chance of falling down if one is not engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Vedic language, it is also said, Rasovai saha rasam hai ivayam labdhavanandi bhavati. When one understands the personality of Godhead, the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, he actually becomes transcendently blissful. Taittiriya Upanishad 2.7.1. The Supreme Lord is full in 6 opulences, and when a devotee approaches him, there is an exchange of these 6 opulences. The servant of the king enjoys on an almost equal level with the king. And so, eternal happiness, imperishable happiness, and eternal life accompany devotional service. Therefore, realization of Brahman or eternity or imperishability is included in devotional service. This is already possessed by a person who is engaged in devotional service. The living entity, although Brahman by nature, has the desire to lord it over the material world, and due to this, he falls down. In his conditional position, a living entity is above the 3 modes of material nature, but association with material nature entangles him in the different modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Due to the association of these 3 modes, his desire to dominate the material world is there. By engagement in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, he is immediately situated in the transcendental position, and his unlawful desire to control material nature is removed. Therefore, the process of devotional service, beginning with hearing, chanting, remembering the prescribed 9 methods for realizing devotional service, should be practiced in the association of devotees. Gradually, by such association, by the influence of the spiritual master, one's material desire to dominate is removed and one becomes firmly situated in Lord's transcendental loving service. This method is prescribed from the 22nd to the last verse of this chapter. Devotional service to the Lord is very simple. One should always engage in the service of the Lord, should eat the remnants of foodstuffs offered to the deity, smell the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, see the places where the Lord had his transcendental pastimes, read of the different activities of the Lord, his reciprocation of love with his devotees, chant always the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and observe the fasting days commemorating the appearances and disappearances of the Lord and his devotees. By following such a process, one becomes completely detached from all material activities, one who can thus situate himself in the Brahm Jyoti or the different varieties of a Brahman conception equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport for the 14th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the 3 modes of material nature.
Any questions?
I'm not realized much. I have little realization in devotional service. So I want to ask again and again. It's coming when we serve. Then we then by engagement he made situated. By engagement in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, he is immediately situated in the transcendental position. So, Prabhuji, how to understand that? If I talk about myself, I try to engage myself in the devotional service. So, how to understand that when, how can I be transcendent? If I talk about myself, how can I understand?
According to the words what you use, you're trying to fully engage yourself, isn't it?
Yes.
So you are trying. That means you are sadhana. You are doing sadhana. But when you are situated, when you are totally engaged, then you will be transcendental. Hmm? So one word. When you are trying, as long as you are trying, there will be always sometimes transcendental, sometimes not. And sometimes you are not transcendental. You are trying. When you are not trying, when you are situated, then you are transcendental.
So, Prabhuji, if
Hmm?
I say that I have up to like I have given my 100% to surrender. So now does it mean like, but I have understood like now I'm doing Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. So the next step will come the Raganuga sadhana bhakti. So does it mean like that when the Raganuga stage would come, so but the question of mine will be answered? Does it like?
No, your question is already answered. See, you told I'm trying. Trying means sadhana bhakti. So when you are situated 24 hours, when you are situated in bhava bhakti, you're transcendental.
Thank you so much.
Okay?
Yes.
Trying means practicing. So we are in the stage of practice, sadhana bhakti. When you come to the position of bhava, then you are transcendental modes of nature.
And
Okay?
Prabhuji, can I please ask one thing like here that vichar ya chitta pave chamatkar. So how once the thing comes into my mind that I have to come out of my anarthas, the natnivritti stage, then and how it will come that Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is actually to attain a bhava. The goal of is to the goal of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is to attain the bhava stage. So does it mean like we how one attains after anarth nivritti, one comes to a level of nishtha, and how one attains the bhava? It's like that the devotee always meditates upon the mercy of the Lord and how grateful Krishna is, and the devotees are like how to understand this uh, thing that how once I don't know, I'm very low that of course I have not crossed the another state, but I'm always inquisitive that the goal is this, the everything will become spontaneous after the very sadhana bhakti, when raganaga bhakti we would do. So the bhava stage, like that how to understand, Prabhuji? I know that is very high level question, but you are so senior, so I don't want to miss this opportunity to ask you.
No, I'm so less intelligent. I'm not able to understand your question. Can you frame it and then try to frame it and write it down and then send it to me so that I can answer in the next class? Maybe you ask many questions at the same time. So it is better that you write down and then send it.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So we'll
Thank you.
stop here for today and we'll do tomorrow the 15th chapter.
Guruji, I have one
And,
question.
yeah.
Guruji, I'm still bit confused with the word Brahman. Verse 26 says living entity comes to the level of Brahman. Living and we call living entity also Brahman. Confused हो रहा है.
In the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, you heard that living entity is called Brahman because it's Jiva Brahman. Why the living entity is called Brahman? Because it is. In the 13th chapter also, we heard about living entity being called Brahman. 8th chapter also, the living entity is called Brahman because it is eternal. Since living entity is eternal, it's called Brahman. Now, the eternal living entity is now in the conditioned state. So by the practice of Krishna consciousness, it attains the nature of Brahman. Here the word Brahman is Krishna. nature of Krishna means spiritual, 100% transcendental position. So the living entity, which is Brahman, because of his conditioned consciousness, is now experiencing all the suffering. So once it becomes transcendental to the modes of nature, then it attains complete spiritual nature. That is why if you see, Brahman attains Brahman. You see there is one statement given in the previous words, purport. Brahme vasan brahma brahme yati Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. You got the statement there, you saw the statement. If you see at the end, thus the qualification is to become Brahman, or free from material contamination. It is said in the Vedic literatures, Brahmeva san Brahma Yeti. One can attain the Supreme Brahman by becoming Brahman, like that. Okay?
And thank you, Prabhu.
So we stop for today. I am on my way to Vrindavan. I am sitting in Mumbai airport. My flight announcement has come. I am giving class from the airport. Tomorrow, 7:30, we'll meet Vrindavan. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so very much, Prabhuji. Please have humble senses.